boom, baby. I hope everybody is having a great Saturday and a great weekend. So, a great holiday weekend. I keep forgetting. I'm losing track of time. It's a holiday weekend, Memorial weekend. I hope everybody is having a great holiday weekend. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you back to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse background in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I'm ecstatically crazy about. Again, I want to welcome you to the show. You know the drill. Jump in, say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from so I can give you a shout out there. Mr. Garen, my man, from up north, Canada. My brother there. Appreciate you tuning in for sure. Like I said, I've been super excited about this episode. I got one of the legends on. So I'm looking forward to having a great conversation for sure. Make sure that, you get plugged into the community. Hop on over to the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/The Color of Motion. Get engaged. We're having a great time over there. It's growing, having industry conversations, sharing industry news, and just having all around fun for sure. Also, make sure that you give ECAM permission, because if you're tuning in from Facebook, sometimes your name and avatar doesn't come through. So if you give ECAM permission, ecam.com/connect, all your information will come over, and like I said, I'll be able to give you the props you so richly deserve when you comment. Also, like I said, there's a lot of big things coming up with the show, doing a lot of different things. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be super excited to, like I said, make a big announcement coming soon. So be looking out for that. But make sure that you get connected with me. Definitely want to hear from you. You can connect with me on all my social channels here. Like I said, you can find me. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think of the show. Any guests you may want me to get on. And like I said, just want to stay connected with you for sure. Like I said, we do broadcasts. You could be checking out the broadcast from LinkedIn, YouTube, or any of the Facebook pages or groups. But I do always encourage people to hop on over to the YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, comment, give a thumbs up. You're also able to check out all the great people that we've had on, all the episodes, and all the great people and friends that I've had on so far. But definitely want you to get plugged in. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which I know is definitely doable. So make sure that you share it because it definitely helps the channel to grow. I want the channel to be a content hub of just great information, great tutorials, just great creative space that people can come to learn, see inspiring stories, and like I said, just have a lot of fun for sure. What else? I think I pretty much got everything. I try and get through these, housekeeping relatively quick. So, but I think I got everything. Oh, before I forget, definitely, like I said, I've been working really hard on sponsorships for the show, which, like I said, is going really well, and looking forward to sharing some good news with you. But if you're one of those ones that definitely would love to kind of help support the show, hey, I love a great cup of coffee. Who doesn't? I love coffee. Buy me a cup of coffee at buymeacupofcoffee.com/Don Terrell. You can donate, help support the show, support the channel. It'll help me to continue to level up the content and just make a much, much better channel for everyone. So with that, like I said, I think we're about ready to get this party started right. My next guest is an emerging producer, writer, director, and professional illustrator residing in Montreal, Quebec. I hope I pronounced that right. They might say Quebec. Formerly with a degree in architecture and decades of teaching in the owned and operated Apocalypse Studios, Montreal's first comic book art school. New opportunities led to storyboard and concept artwork in film, television, commercials, music videos, comics, advertising, print media, web, stage, and video games. He's been all over. That's why I said living legend. Clients have included Marvel, IDW, Boom Studios, Ubisoft, Nike, Reebok, Walmart, McDonald's, CocaCola, ABC Entertainment, Dark Castle, Universal Pictures, DC Entertainment, and hundreds more. His directorial debut, the horror sci-fi transmedia style project Red Ruby, garnered 31 Film Festival Awards worldwide across 2017-2018, premiering at Silicon Valley's Cinequest Film and VR Festival, and won him the Directorial Discovery Award courtesy of the Rhode Island International Film Festival. In 2021, he was the recipient of 2 pioneering fellowships, the Real World's Producers Program presented by Bell Media and the Netflix Better Diversity of Voices Initiative, both dedicated to promoting diversity and BIPOC experiences across the Canadian entertainment landscape. His company, Steelwalker Productions Incorporated, has several TV series in pre-development with LLCs from Canadian broadcasters. He currently works as a senior concept artist for Warner Brothers Games Montreal, has plans to produce 2 short films in 2022, and writes short speculative fiction on a monthly basis. Please, everybody, help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Mr. Jose Holder.
Let me try that again.
I love
Hello.
it. I love it. I love it.
What's up?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, sir? I appreciate you so much for taking some time out of your massively busy schedule with all that going on.
I already told you got bigger fish to fry. I'm happy to do my little part.
Oh, man. Too funny. Let's see. Be careful, people. Yes. I know this must be calendar. Yeah, I know my Facebook account got hacked last week. So I had to make a post that, please, if you are, let me make an announcement. If you receive a friend request from me from Facebook, please don't accept it. Somebody else is using my account. Fortunately, another friend of mine reported it, so hopefully that'll be taken care of. Facebook's notorious for that. They need to hurry up and get something a little more for that. But in any case, again,
I won't do any other interviews with any other Dons.
Yes. This is
the only one.
The original Don. We are with the original Don.
The original
So
Don. I like
this
that.
is
like
the
that.
right Don. So appreciate you, but I do appreciate you, Karen Durr, letting me know that for sure. And again, if you do receive a friend request from me and you know you're already friends with me, don't accept it because it's not me. All right, let's get this party started. Like I said, Jose, you've obviously done just a tremendous amount of stuff and work.
I really should have given you a shorter bio. It's just embarrassing.
I felt like
apologize.
I was reading a novel there for sure.
I tripped you up once or twice. Sorry.
But that just speaks to the vast amount of experience and work that you've done. And like I said, I'm gonna show a lot of your work. You worked on some, like I said, amazing projects and everything. What was it that initially got you interested, when you were younger in cartoons, comics, illustration? I mean, were you always art wise, always doing things art wise, or what was it that kind of sparked the interest for you?
Okay. It's funny because I had listened to you ask this question to some of your other guests, and I started to fall down this rabbit hole, this memory lane, right? Of what started it, And it's funny that if you keep going back, you'll find the triggers. And I was born in Hammersmith, but I was raised in LA, and I have very, very clear, vivid memories of my second and third birthday and my time in preschool. And I can tell you my earliest memory is watching Warner Brothers cartoons and Speed Racer.
Oh, yeah. Speed Racer.
You remember Speed Racer?
Oh, man. Trixie and Pops and Chip.
Oh, my God. I used to pray my mom came late to pick me up just so I could finish the episode. You know what I mean? I think there were reruns back there.
Oh,
back
man.
then, I did my research. I think there were reruns. But yeah, you grew up with all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, and it imprinted on me. It must have. And when I came to this country when I was about 4, I remember being exposed to comic books really early, and that set me on the path. I started drawing almost immediately.
Wow. And which I kind of alluded to in your bio, that you kind of went into architecture. I mean, what was was that kind of a fallback thing, or? Because how parents can be sometimes. I don't know about this art career. You might want to have something else.
Well, I remember I was a child of the 70s, obviously. So I was fed on TV, all our favorite shows, like $6 Million Man.
Oh, man, you're going way back.
1999. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Twilight Zone, all that stuff. So I became a horror buff almost immediately, right?
Yeah.
It was in my blood. As an only child, maybe that was a coping mechanism. I have no idea, but I loved the Hardy Boys and all that stuff.
Oh,
and
man, geez, you're pulling.
I'm taking you back,
way out. Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, boy, you're pulling them way out.
Yes, the 70s had it all, man.
Oh, man, geez.
It was the sweet zone: film, TV, music. Anyway, so I remember a teacher in high school sort of challenging the class to read more, and I was sort of like a jock. So books, they were out of the question, it wasn't gonna happen. But she challenged me, and do you remember something back then called Doubleday? Doubleday books?
Yeah. Doubleday books, yeah.
Even by today's standards, 10 books, hardcover books,
yeah,
for 99 cents.
Yes.
Are you people insane?
Yes.
And I think it might have been owned by Columbia or something, but they did it with CDs too.
Oh,
man. And I remember just stocking up on Stephen King books.
Yeah.
Right? And it came with this little ordering list, and I went down the list and I was like, an evil car? What? Yeah. A crazy dog? Yeah, let's keep doing it, I got some Dean Koontz books and some fantasy stuff, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And that sort of cemented the writing side of my artistic brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By the time high school came along, like the later years, stuff fades. You get into the social factor of things, and I was always sort of like I had a foot in multiple worlds as a nerd.
Yeah.
So, I was doing the football, basketball, volleyball thing, but I was also with the chess crew, and I was.
Oh, you were in
everywhere. Yeah, because I had multiple interests, and as soon as you get close to graduation, I think everybody realizes they start building up that fear in them. Holy crap! I need to choose something.
Yeah, I need to figure out something because I'm not going to be coming here every day.
Exactly. And we were just talking about this in the green room. um, we didn't have the internet growing
Yeah.
up, so we were in our own silos, right?
Yeah.
And it was all about what you knew, what your potential was limited to your circle of friends,
Yeah.
your parents, and their circle of friends, and maybe obviously if you had TV, that circle was a little wider. But I
Yeah.
had friends who didn't even have TV,
Yeah. And even
so
then, it was limited to 3 channels. Very
3 channels.
3 major channels.
That's right.
Oh man.
So I didn't know anything about comic book conventions and meeting my extended brothers and sisters out there in the industry. And architecture was the only thing I knew that could keep the pencil in my hand, and
Yeah.
allowed me to sort of run that natural skill into a viable future. So I got into college, and I remember that was a different thing, man. The sky opened up, and uh, I remember moving from college to a trade school for architecture. I did that for about 3, 4 years, and I already had an insane work ethic. So we slept at school. We worked really hard. You know, uh,
Yeah.
I think the nephew of the owner of the school had the keys. We would come in on Friday night. We would stay there, do our homework, sleep, wake up the next morning, do more homework, and leave before class started on Monday morning. That's how hard we pushed. So that's it.
So how were your? I mean, you just said you were kind of an only child. How were your parents in fostering kind of just your different passions or your talent for? Did they see the initial talent in your art and growing up and foster it?
Yeah. Well, always supportive. I always had that sort of like that work ethic to back it up. You know,
Yeah.
Mom pushed really hard. She was a nurse for many years, and you know, I learned that hustle. 2 jobs, whatever it took, family first, uh, and to really just lean into the things that you were good at because we all got a set of cards and you got to play them. You got to play the cards as best you can,
Yeah.
right? Life was hard, um, but there was never a lack for anything, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was very grateful for that in small communities that are filled with immigrants. There's always a sense of community. Somebody's always watching somebody else's kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I don't think
so
kids.
you're not getting away with anything.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to want to do that today.
Yeah, yeah.
But back
Community
when,
watch. Yeah,
yeah, back when I was growing up, like I said, the neighbors were, if you did something wrong, they would say, "Hey, what are you doing?" You know.
people
Yeah.
were invested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people were invested. Yeah, for sure.
and the other beautiful thing is that I think that we've sort of forgotten is there were multi generational households, right?
Yeah.
People lived with their grandmothers and their aunts and their uncles, so there was always a grounding effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you when
Yeah.
you come home, you knew sort of like your place in
Hierarchy
the
there.
cosmos, in the hierarchy, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I come from a large family, so my dynamic was a little bit different. Like I said, I'm the youngest of 10, and so,
Wow.
but that was kind of, it's funny because, and I think look back on it now, my neighborhood, every pretty much every family had at least 5 kids or more. So there was always kids that you could play with, and there was just always this kind of dynamic of just large families, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And it creates for great memories. You know what I mean? I had always that community sort of like feel, and when we were pushing out into the world,
Hmm.
there's always somebody there to catch you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah, my mom did it all. You
awesome,
know,
awesome.
and
So
she's still rocking.
that's awesome, and I'm sure she's just crazy proud of what the things that you've accomplished to this point for sure. So for you, what was that turning point that moved you from architecture into, like I said, just illustration of, the type of illustration and comics of what you're doing now? What was that kind of tipping point or that first thing that just moved you from just the strict architecture that you were learning?
Well, I remember going through a phase where I had doubled down on Photoshop and graphics, so I was on your side of the fence for a while, and just learning um, how to deal with clients. I think that was I had that at the back of my head. I know there was a social aspect
Yeah.
to working as an artist, and if you could create a work base with clients, you had the potential to actually carve out your own future, right? So going into advertising, you develop that mentality, two for them, one for you.
Yeah.
So you do what the client needs, you do the in between, and then the last one, that's a sanity check. You know what I mean? You do that
Yeah.
one and strictly for you as an artist, and you develop an understanding of how to deal with different people in different industries, and it was a big sort of eye-opening experience. And from there, I remember leaning back into my illustration,
Yeah.
because I was doing a lot of graphic stuff for a while, and I leaned back into illustration, and I went to the basics. I sort of ripped everything apart and built it back up again, and I started with stick form and just pushing the dynamic posing and squeezing out every inch of camera and storytelling and dynamic posing I could. And I took from what I knew in the industry, which were artists that were at the top of their game, and they really brought a sense of um, just cinematic storytelling
Yeah.
and flair and style, to their work. And breaking down that along with, I don't know if you remember, there was a book that came out called The Marvel Way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah. I
And
think I
that's
may even have
simplified.
a copy
Do you
somewhere in
have
there.
one?
Yeah. I found it at an
Okay.
old bookstore. But yeah, the Marvel way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mine's in storage somewhere. But I remember taking that stick form and merging it with a lot of contemporary artists from that time, and I found that I was able to sort of like reinvent myself. And then I became overwhelmed with the idea of sharing it, and so uh, I passed it across my little unit, my little circle of friends, and everyone was really excited about it. And so I opened up a tiny little school called Apocalypse Studios in
Oh
Montreal.
wow.
Yeah, and we must have had hundreds, if not thousands, of students come through, just working on the fundamentals, right? The basics
Yeah.
of stick form and uh, making sure that we had a good foundation, a good basis for moving into the sort of like the micro, elements of design, which eyes, noses, mouths, blending in diversity, uh, shape dynamics, um, and then some texturing, water, steel, wood, whatever it was, hair, and light source. And we had like a 1, 3 month, and 6 month program. And now I can say, after like having done that for about a decade or so, it's really nice. It's humbling to now work alongside a lot of those students
Yeah.
that were kids when I
Wow.
met them, and
Yeah.
now they're adults with beards as long as yours, the mortgages, and all
Oh
kinds of
man.
shit. Fantastic.
No, I guess that is a very satisfying thing, knowing,
Yeah,
that you really helped them with the foundational things, and now they're, like you said, your colleagues, and even getting, higher positions and things like that.
much
Um,
higher than me. Yeah,
for
and it's
sure.
beautiful. It's really nice, and I've hired so many on some of the jobs I was on. I think for me that was the main idea, was to open up avenues for young people to figure out what the industry was like, and what um, potential. They had it there,
Yeah.
in front of them, and so I would take the best of the group and bring them on into contracts. Um, it was up to them to prove that they had,
Yeah. Got the
the
right
skills
stuff.
to stay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have gone on to some really great things. I'm really
Yeah.
proud.
Do you
I
feel
closed my
like
school because I had 13 of the best students I've ever had in my life.
wow.
We had
Wow.
like an A team, and I was like, that's it. I'm out.
That's it.
It's
I'm
not going to
good.
get better than them.
Yeah, I'm good.
They they all got jobs. I was like, that's it. I'm going to end on a high.
Oh man. Do you feel like that is kind of a thing that a lot of, beginning artists, lack is the foundational kind of, basics that you were teaching?
I think patience is a virtue. I think this game, like all other games in entertainment, are personality based. And if you can gauge a person's personality, I could see it in my
Yeah.
classes back then. You could tell who had the patience to take their lick, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To take that adversity, break themselves down, and then rebuild themselves back up. If I had asked for 200 sets of eyes or 100 mouths or ears, whatever it is, and I got back 150, you could tell,
You could tell. Yeah.
because there was sacrifice involved.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to give up something in order
Get something.
to,
Yeah. I think a
to
lot of
follow that
people
dream.
don't give that and sacrifice. What do you feel like, on your journey that
Yeah.
you was the biggest thing that you kind of sacrificed or made as a sacrifice to get where you're at now?
I think it's the same thing we all pretty much sacrifice. It's time. You know what I mean? It's our greatest commodity, but at the same time, uh, as a workaholic, like when my wife met me, I've been married for like 25 years.
Awesome.
When my wife met me, I had 4 jobs. I was
Regular,
always hustling.
yeah, regular Jamaican. Not to say that that's it, but what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was always hustling, right? I got that from my parents. So, um, I don't
But
know
for you,
for
was that? I mean, okay, and I think about this sometimes too.
mhm,
As I'm trying to build my career and things like that, you have to find a balance.
yeah,
Like I said, she's your wife now.
mhm,
So was she obviously she was understanding of where you were trying to go,
yeah,
but at the same time, she knows she wants her time. You
yeah.
want to give her time. So for you, was that kind of an adjustment thing? In okay, I got to figure out how to
How to
balance,
balance this to make it
yeah,
work.
to
Yeah,
make it work.
I I have to say, for people that love what they do and who do it a lot, and they sort of blur the lines between family and work, um, you have to be very selective about the people that you bring into those circles, so that you can preserve that vision that you have for yourself. Um, and it's nothing but love and support that you get from that group, whether
Yeah,
it's your friends, your family, your parents, your community. You really have to safeguard that dream. And so it was easy for me with my wife because uh, we both had very similar sensibilities. And I would tell my students, listen, um, day one, I would put an A on a dry erase board, and I'd be like, this is art. This is this has to be cherished, right?
yeah,
Some people figure this out in their 50s and 60s, and then go into the basement and blow off the violin or whatever. No, no, no. You need to preserve this, and so everything that goes around that needs to be in support of
yeah,
that part of you that you want to preserve, because it's an emotional game, right? You're always extending yourself as you tell stories, as you write paragraphs, as you carve, um, as you dance, express yourself however you're doing it. And so your emotional well-being, you need to make sure that your momentum, that
Yeah.
the things you see for yourself down the line, that version of yourself that you're
Yeah.
leaning into. You have to make sure that you figure out ways uh, to have everybody understand that this is something that you cherish, and then you have to figure out a way to disconnect yourself from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when
No.
you disconnect, you have to be fully disconnected so that you can cherish the things that are most important to you.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with, and I said it, and it's been said, you're the average of the five people that you really kind of hang around,
Hands down, hands
and
down.
you really need to be careful of the the people that you surround yourself with that
That's right.
really feed into your and nourish and encourage your passion and dreams and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell a lot of people this. Yeah, be careful of the people, and as tough as it is, sometimes, and this was something that was told to me. Not everybody is going where you're going.
Right,
And there are some people that just aren't going to see the vision that you have for your life. And
right.
somebody said God gave you the vision. He didn't give it to
Mm-hmm.
somebody else. So you got to be the one to really
To
be
protect it.
careful, to protect it, to
Yeah.
nourish it, and to surround yourself around people that are really going to, at least if they may not understand it, they're going to at least encourage
At least
you
support you.
and
Yeah.
support you in what you're doing, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
for you, you do a lot. Like I said, you have a lot of different disciplines. You're a writer, you're a producer, director, illustrator. Is there one that you kind of lean more towards than the others, or one that you enjoy more than the others, or do they all kind of each feed each other in the things that you do within them?
I knew you were going to ask that. And it's funny, when I was younger, I thought, well, you get this sense from the people who are around you that you need to check a box, right? Because people need to figure out what you do so they can put you in a lane.
Yeah,
But I figured out a long time ago that I was a storyteller. And so when you make your peace with that, it doesn't really matter which discipline you're leaning into at the time. Um, you're feeding that part of you that
yeah,
tells stories. I love cinema. You know what I mean? I love film. I love television. Um, my mind runs in that sort of um, that milieu, and so when I move to comic books, I'm thinking in film, I'm
yeah,
thinking in television, I'm thinking in framing and pacing and camera work. When I'm in storyboarding for video games or I'm doing key shots, I'm still in that mode. You
mode.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
What used to crack me up is back in the day. Um, I don't know if you had this experience. I would storyboard for a music video and then go to a commercial and they'd be like, I don't know, different. And I'll be like, what? What are you talking? And then when I would be on a TV commercial, they'd be like, you know what? This is film, son. And I'm
yeah.
like, it's the same pencil, right?
No, I
So
get
you
it.
adapt to the medium.
Yeah,
You adapt to the medium. Don't let somebody put you in a box.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the moral
And
of the
that
story.
was something I kind of had to, finally, you know, embrace. I'm a content creator. I just love,
That's
and
right.
it doesn't matter what medium it is. I can appreciate just the fact that you can get your idea out from your head, whether
Hmm.
it's sculpting, photography, writing,
I say
animation,
embrace
film.
it all. I
It's
say
a
embrace it all.
yeah, it's just a creation thing. It's a creation thing. Mr. Downtown DeMille, I appreciate you, brother. Always supporting me. Super talented animator.
That's a
Great
great
guest.
name.
Yes.
Downtown to middle.
Downtown with DeMille. His name is DeMille Hunt. Great guy,
Okay.
super animator, super great animator. I had him on earlier this year. But his
What's
comment,
up,
this
Jamil?
this is very true. That is why I always try to keep myself surrounded by other like-minded individuals. Iron sharpens iron, for sure. And I think it's a little tougher when it's family. That don't really
Yeah.
kind of support you. Their family, you love them, but you just have to keep in mind that you're on your own journey, you know.
Yeah. And
And
that's why I think it's very important for artists to find their communities, right? Or else you end up creating in a vacuum, and it's not good for the spirit. It's not good for your mental. Um, you could argue it may not even be good for the art itself. So
yeah,
it's important to find, especially when you're starting out. It's important to find people who are doing the thing that you ultimately want to do,
yeah,
and you get a little background info on the lifestyle that comes with it. What is the price to be paid? There's always a price.
yeah,
You pay to play, right?
yeah,
So I started going to conventions really early and meeting people who did it, and it just renewed that sense of that love
yeah,
for the thing, right, and not the product. And that was always the hardest thing I found as a teacher, was trying to teach students to fall in love with the craft and the history, and the process. And so that all that other stuff that you dream of, the money and cloud or whatever it is you hope, that'll come if you just stay in the pocket of creation and learning to love
yeah,
the grind, so to speak.
yeah, yeah. So for you, and we're going to talk a little about this, and I'm going to in a minute show some of Jose's work. Like I said, does just amazing illustrator and creator. I just like to say
You
creator because
lie.
he does some, like I said, just great stuff. But Red Ruby was your directorial debut. What was it that What was the big lesson that you learned from that? Because it
Uh,
was live action. It was a
yes,
live action film.
yes. Well, the primary idea was that it was supposed to be, and still will be, a transmedia based project. And so I wanted to put together a universe that I was able to sort of feed through my love for all of these different mediums. These
Yeah,
skill sets that I could bring to the table, like illustration and writing and maybe directing, producing, whatever it was, and be able to create this transmedia mosaic of products that fed into one story, but through multiple mediums. And so I knew that people who love film may not necessarily have uh, enjoyed a web series or a comic book. And so each of these mediums had to stand on their own. But it gave me a chance to actually start things through the hardest medium and then work my way backwards, right? Because film's expensive. It took, I shot it across 4 weekends, and it took about 3 years after the fact to get it put together. And as that was happening, my career as in video games actually took off.
mm,
And so I was sort of battling. I needed to finish this thing, but I also had to,
yeah,
you know, figure out how to make the video game thing work and treasure it. So uh, I ended up finishing the editing for that. We launched the film in 2017. It went around the world. We won about 31 awards for the entire cast and crew, and it really gave me the confidence that I could continue to work in that space.
wow,
And
wow,
everybody told me it was going to be hard, but I
yeah,
had been around enough sets as a storyboard artist to sort of know the kind of director I wanted to be.
yeah,
And working with hundreds of directors, you learn the kind of relationship you want to have with the crew or don't. You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So I was very lucky for that opportunity.
No, that's awesome for sure.
Yeah.
I just lost my train of thought of what my next question was going to be.
I threw you
Again,
off.
so I'll segue. Everybody just jumping on. We're having a fun conversation with my friend Jose Holder, uh, senior concept artist, and like I said, does I keep saying this amazing work, and trust me, when you see it, you'll
Thank you,
know
sir.
for sure. What was the genesis? I mean, where did the idea for Red Ruby come from?
Oh well, I've always been obsessed with the mind's power over the body. Um, I'm a spiritual guy. I meditate a lot. A lot of the research that I was doing uncovered stuff that I had to bleed onto the page. I wanted to share my understanding of what that was, but I wanted to create a universe in order to deliver that package. And because I came from a love of sci-fi and horror, I knew these were perfect mediums to deliver a message, without without being on the nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So uh, I wanted to play with horror. I wanted to play with the mind. I wanted to play with concepts of everything and nothing, the one and the many,
yeah,
which has like religious connotations to it. And yeah, I see it playing out through an audio serial I was telling you about.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
those old cliffhangers.
yeah. Those radio cliffhanger serials for sure.
Yeah, like the Lone Ranger and stuff like that. And obviously, it'll give me a chance to revisit through other short mediums.
Yeah.
But for the really expensive stuff, I'll confine that to comic books.
Oh,
Save on the CGI a bit.
so what do you think? I mean, like I said, and it's funny because even though, like I said, we know we love horror just as much as any other, race. It wasn't something that you naturally saw in a lot of horror movies. So, what do you think now of people like Jordan Peele really putting a different spin on the horror genre? And like I said, I'm seeing a lot of comic books now that have black characters in horror comics that have black characters in it in a really different, like I said, spin. And it wasn't something that we typically saw. And I'm a big fan. We talked about this, before the show. I love Twilight Zone because it
Yeah,
was just it was such a mind bending
yeah.
type of series. In but they didn't have too many black stories on there. But
No, no. But I mean, that that genre, uh, even with sci-fi, it allows you to touch on topical elements that are maybe a little dicey, a
yeah,
little,
Star
that
Trek
people,
was really good at that.
they
Star
went
Trek,
for it.
yeah,
Yeah,
Star Trek really had a knack for knowing that they wanted to make a social commentary, but they had
right.
to wrap it in a sci-fi setting in order for it to
That's it.
be palatable to people.
And so for me, the diversity and the inclusivity was wrapped into the narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And people could walk away from it without necessarily knowing exactly what the actual parameters were. And so I wanted to do that with Ruby. I think I'll continue to do that through whatever opportunities I get to direct or write. And keeping diversity at the forefront is really, really important because it brings different perspectives. That's what
yeah,
Jordan did,
yeah,
right? It allows you to actually access historical elements and parts of our history,
yeah.
and
There
to
were a
shine a
lot
light.
of subtle things that
Yeah,
we picked up on that maybe the average person or somebody of another race might not have picked up on it
yeah,
initially,
yeah.
which is what I
And
love about it.
and it pushes boundaries, right? It pushes the needle.
Yeah,
It gets you talking about it, and that's what film and television and video games. I think when they're done well, they're always taking elements from our actual life, and art imitates life and all of that. I think it's important to push those boundaries and
yeah,
to have people above and below the line that are sort of they're part of that infrastructure, so that it does bleed into the script, which is then the script
yeah,
is everything, right?
yeah.
I mean, it's the alpha and the omega. It has to start there.
So for you, And I'm always, like I said, I'm trying to get better at writing. I'm not the writer, but
You
like I
have to
said,
write,
yeah, I know.
write
I have
daily.
to write daily and stuff. But for you, what's your process for when you sit down? You have an idea, um, but you want to, like I said, is it? Do you write the story, or do you kind of write it in the film kind of vernacular, or whatever it is you're planning on putting out, whether it's comic book, or do you write it in a script form, or what's your process for when you sit down to write a story?
Well, I like to come up with a concept, just like a loose. It could be an idea that feeds into a synopsis. You know what I mean? Just a quick log line or whatever it is, and then build from there. Uh, I get my ideas in the shower. Whenever whenever I'm underwater, I just get flooded with ideas. So at some point, I'll sit down with an old legal pad. I'm old school that way. I'll jot down plot points, the stuff in the story I know I'd like to see actually happen. Make sure they're not tropes or anything like that, stuff I've
Yeah,
seen before. And then go about the business of fleshing out characters and making them meaty, right? Giving them um, flaws and setting up any antagonistic relationships or anything like that. And then breaking the story. At some point, you need to create a beat board or an outline of some sort and figure out how all of these things are going to come together, whether it's a comic book or a film or a television pilot. And then is the hard part. You have to take care of the dialogue. And hopefully, if you've done enough background research on the characters and their environment, I believe what Stephen King had mentioned in one of his interviews. I think he mentioned it in his book on writing as well. The characters do write themselves to a large degree, and the more you listen to the world around you, the more you get um, those very human, very naturalistic moments that come through in people's dialogue. Where a train of thought just
yeah,
it
takes you there.
skirts from
Right.
right to left. It's never a straight line.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my process.
But when you initially sit down, are you cognizant of, okay, I want this live, I'm doing this live action film, or I'm doing this as a comic book, or are
Yes,
you already in your head knowing the medium that you're going to use?
absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes the medium shifts, right? You find you're leaning into something, and that's why it's important to actually share your findings with people who can give you a critical eye and constructive criticism. But as you're going through it, at least for myself, I pretty much know the medium I want to play in, um, and then I'll factor in the format for that medium because every medium is different. You have to figure out how to format your scripts for a comic book versus a film versus a television show or a play. And for the most part, I do it for myself. I do it for the love of learning
Yeah,
that craft. And maybe one day here or there, I'll share it with somebody and it'll become something. But I just love the learning. And I honestly believe if you're in one medium and it has legs, you understand how to write dialogue or you understand uh, first acts, second acts, third acts, a big beginning, middle, and end, whatever it is. Um, you can move between mediums. The formula is the same. It's just
yeah.
you have to apply yourself to the new format, whatever it is.
Awesome, awesome.
But
Again,
a story
every
is a story.
yeah, true. It did. It really does all come down to the story,
That's right.
and it
Yeah,
being a great story, which is why I love Pixar. They focus on the story.
they've mastered the
Yeah, they
formula of
mastered
storytelling.
the idea of just the story, and
Yeah.
really making it all about that. Everybody, again, just tuning in. We're having a great conversation with my man Jose Holder, and we're getting ready to take
Cheers to the dawn. Cheers.
a. I digress. Trust me, when you see his work, You're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna do the same. We're getting ready to take a look at some of Jose's creations here, which are just masterful. Like I said, I'm a Green Lantern fan myself, so I love
He's my
this.
favorite. He's my favorite, hands down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But like I said, the work is just incredible work. And I
Thank you,
can't
sir.
help but love it. Black Panther. Hey, Black Panther 2 is going to be coming out soon.
It's
So
coming. It's coming.
looking forward to that. But like I said, you have such a, like I said, Red Ruby. I'm a horror fan, so I enjoyed the trailer for sure. Um, and does like I said, you're just all over the place in the stuff that you do. So that's how I appreciate. Like I said, you have so many different skills
We
and
have one life, right? I
yeah,
mean, I can. I love multitasking. I love the idea of being this thing the kids are calling now a multi hyphenate. And just allowing yourself to move creatively through different spaces,
yeah, yeah.
different times.
And I think, like I said, when like what you were talking about, when you come from the approach of you're just creating and it's the content. It really doesn't matter the medium that you're kind of wanting to do. Just give yourself permission to do that. You'll find that you know, you'd be surprised at the things you kind of drift into and drift out of.
Yeah,
When
and
it
give yourself a chance to fail upwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, some amazing work. Tell us a little bit about this. I was kind of curious about Zach.
Oh, well, this is just some studies I was doing, just to get a feel of uh, a lead character, protagonist, with a flair for photography, and I had gone through a rainbow of different faces, different nationalities, which I think is really important. And
Yeah,
it's funny, when I started off in this industry, as a storyboard artist, I used to filter, or I should say, factor different nationalities into the work. Let other people figure out, whether it works or not for them. And you would get wrapped on the knuckles a few times. No, this doesn't work. It's not part of our study group or whatever it is. You're like,
uh,
okay, all right,
oh
I
man.
tried.
But now, I mean, you're conscious of when you're creating a character,
Yeah.
and like you said, the character does tend to kind of create itself and write itself. Are you
Mhm.
conscious about wanting to put in this nationality or that nationality? And if you
Mhm.
do you go a little bit extra in being authentic to the voice that you're trying to create? Because I think that's where a lot of studios were running into problems. They were
Yeah.
writing characters and they were writing from their kind of own perspective of what they thought the character background was,
Yeah.
or how this character talked if they made him black, or how this character acted if they made him Hispanic or Latino type
Yeah.
of thing.
And then they become caricatures of
Caricatures of
of
that.
of of actual people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sort of like one-dimensional versions of nationalities and cultures. And so this is why it's so important to have people at various levels of management and at the executive level who are helping to nurture and support these visions, at the upper levels of creativity, so that there's an authenticity that
yeah,
comes through in the dialogue and the framing and the lighting of the skin and the hair,
yeah,
which has been missing from across the board,
yeah,
film, TV, video games, you name it.
yeah,
And so now that people are aware, um, the more inclusive these markets become, the easier it's going to be to see people being represented on screen and in video games, and
yeah,
to understand that, what, you have to treat this a little bit differently. You have to respect the fact that there's diversity here, there's a difference, and in so doing, you sort of like level the playing field.
yeah, yeah,
You level it on a narrative from a narrative standpoint, and you level it from a creative standpoint, which is
yeah,
fantastic, which is what you want. And if you blur it enough, people don't question when they see Bridgerton, or you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
they they see a black doctor or a Hispanic lawyer, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
They
think
don't
like
question it.
yeah, and I think like I said, when if the story is good, you're not. I mean, the
That's right.
extraneous stuff that you may think about would be an issue. I mean,
Right.
that's why Black Panther did so well. It was we were wrapped up in the stories, despite the fact that there was just pretty much all black cast and everything like that. It was a
Right.
great story, and
But
people pulled.
you could still celebrate,
Yeah,
the backgrounds of these characters, and not have it pull you out of the story, just like we celebrate that from our favorite action heroes. And you know, as long as we have an authenticity to the character, I think it gives you more creative liberty to design stories that are richer and to go to places that we've rarely seen.
yeah,
I
yeah,
loved it when a Mission Impossible will take you all the way to the other end of the world,
yeah,
because
yeah,
by default you're bringing in culture.
yeah,
And
yeah,
a John Wick will do the same. It's refreshing. It's exciting. You don't know
yeah.
what you're going to come across.
And to that point, because I like to say that this is a great time to be a content creator because one, there's so many great softwares out there now that weren't, kind of available and especially available for free or, very, inexpensively, when we kind of started.
Yeah.
I was telling you, before, I started 3D on Softimage and that wasn't cheap.
I graduated from architectural school the year CAD came out.
Oh man. And
You
now
remember
you
CAD?
yeah, CAD. And now you
Yeah.
got all these great tools like Blender. Like
Yep.
so many tools that are now getting into the hands of these creators.
Yep.
Plus couple that with, you know, all these channels now that they've got to put their content out there. I mean, how do you feel as far as this time now where, somebody that, like I said, is a animator can create a web series and put it on their YouTube channel, as opposed to feeling like they have to, get to Disney or they have to get to Pixar, or they have to get to these major studios now.
Well, I'm glad you asked me this question. I hope you're sitting down because you rile me up. I'm ready. Okay. This is how I feel about this. I'm very passionate about this. I think um, the next generation has pretty much figured out what we didn't figure out and our parents didn't figure out, how to marry their interests with their careers and use technology to
Yeah.
push that forward and carve out their little niche of whatever, 30, 60, $100,000 a year, their fan base that's loyal to them and their products and their services, and work from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
They figured it out. They don't have to do this 40-year thing, right? They can be sort of, uh, they can dip their toes into different things and learn different things, and take on, um, actually create IPs that they can hold on to and have
Yeah.
legacy going into maybe these boardrooms with streamers and broadcasters,
Yeah. It
and
actually
say,
does give them a lot of leverage if they do it
yeah,
that
and say,
way.
I have followers already.
Yeah.
So I think legacy is really important. It's something I fight for. I advocate, um, alongside diversity. And I believe that the tools now have become so prolific for creators.
Yeah.
Uh, they've sort of created this all in one approach to design. And you could see it now with these volume stages and the use of Unreal to create shows like The Mandalorian and
Oh
stuff.
man, yeah, yeah,
It's our
yeah,
time. It's our
yeah,
time, right?
yeah,
So, just as you see larger corporations creating silos, where they have everything under one banner, I think it's direct to consumer. I think it's the brilliant way to go. I think you're engaging, on whatever platform people want to enjoy. It's really smart, and I think the streamers, excuse me, the influencers are doing the exact same thing.
yeah,
I think there will be a convergence where Multi-hyphenates like myself will be able to create an IP, do the audio, serial, do the comic book, do the short
Yeah.
film or the web series, and then license that to the
Yeah.
larger streamers and have legacy moving into the writer's room where maybe you can write an episode of that thing
Yeah.
or direct an episode of your thing and not have to worry about losing everything in perpetuity.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think volume screens, this new tech, it changed the game because if you're in a 3D space and you have access to people who are in that space, then you could create worlds that were um, sort of confined to bigger high concept productions, and now we can
Yeah.
do that ourselves
Yeah.
with an understanding of set design and whatever, and blending the two, have that actual real lighting affect your actors, and produce all that content yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So that's where I think we're going.
yeah, and then too, like I said, with the advent of the internet, which allows you to connect with so many other, like I said, creatives to work
Yeah,
on something, an idea that you may have, or this, it expands it so much further than where
yeah,
obviously we started. The neighborhood was like really kind of small until you got out of it.
yeah.
Now, like I said, just and I use this show as an example. I've connected with so many different talented and creatives, uh, not just here in the country but around the world. And it just opens things up so much more. And then you couple in, like I said, software, amazing software, open source software that's just amazing that you can do pretty much film work with,
Yeah.
and put it into the hands of these creatives. It's mind blowing where when given the right tool, somebody can take it and use it even for something that the designer or developer hadn't even thought about what they were creating it for. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Uh,
and it gives us this free agency, um, and it doesn't really matter where you're working. I work for a large corporation, and I one day hope that I can do all of this stuff within the banner of where I am and what I'm trying to achieve. And there are people on the outside trying to figure out how to brand themselves.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I think brand is everything.
Brand
You
is
learn
brand is the key word now.
branding is the key word.
Everybody wants to brand themselves, and really everybody. I mean, you are branding yourself, whether you're in just as an everyday person. Brand
Yeah,
is how people perceive you.
right.
So whether it's personally, you're branding yourself and thinking of it
Yeah.
that way. But everybody is conscious now of building a brand. And
Hmm.
like I said, I think like you were just saying, this time that we're in has allowed people to figure out how to monetize and
That's
really
right.
create their own ecosystem of their life.
That's it. That's it. And share, sort of like pull back the veneer, right? And be vulnerable with their fans, show them process, the ups and downs. I think it's really important, and hopefully lean into the thing that drives them when they wake up in the morning.
Yeah,
I think that's the be all and end all. Just
yeah,
loving what you do every day
yeah,
and sharing that passion with people you work with and with other creators. But you
yeah,
have to find your community. You
yeah,
really do.
yeah. Mr. DeMille had a question here. What would you say was the most challenging obstacle you faced when getting your first big break in the industry, and how did you overcome it?
That's a really good question, Demille. Um, I guess I'm not a negative person per se, so I don't. I understand that there are people who will put you in boxes, and I've had my share of those experiences. Um, you get enough whiskey in me, I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything.
And I'm thinking about an after hours kind of break off. That's what I'm thinking
Now you're
about
talking.
doing, guys.
That's
Like a
when the
little,
good stuff shows up.
yeah, that's when the really good stuff shows up. After hours, kind of,
The late show,
yeah,
yeah. So
color
yeah,
motion after hours.
so you have your stories. You I think it's really important to have a strong sense of who you are. I would tell students you should be able to walk out of any room. Keep your integrity, keep your spirit intact. Um, know who you are and what you can offer, and be very honest about that. Um, and if other people want to put you in boxes, that's their business. If they want to label you, that's their business. That's okay. Uh, there's other action across the street. Be positive, be fearless, um, and work really, really hard. So for me, I'd have to say the first obstacles that challenged me were myself, and I think that's true of anybody coming into an arena that's that's fraught with failure. Artists get it the most. I have no idea how actors do it. Props to them, just taking all of those no's and turning them into yeses. You have to find ways to stay creative, and know that there's only one constant in the universe. I mean, everything changes. Everything that has a beginning has an end,
Yeah.
and you will win. You will, if you persevere, you will come out the other end of that rough beginning, smarter, more capable, and hopefully you've learned from your false starts. When I first started in illustration, I would go to cons and I would have great, great, great mentors, and tutors, and just people who were present emotionally and physically, and like the great Neil Adams that we just lost, and
Yeah.
George Perez, and they would give me advice like, turn back then we had televisions where you could turn down the color, the
Yeah.
saturation, turn it down to black and white, and learn shade, turn down the volume, and see if you could still tell a story. And those that piece of advice that I took when I was 18 and into my 20s. I mean, it reshapes you, but you learn patience. You learn that it's not supposed to come now,
Yeah.
and that you should fall in love with the process, because in so doing you'll sort of gain that second skin.
Yeah.
So really the biggest demon was the one inside, I think, to
Which
overcome.
usually is the case. It's you're usually fighting
Yeah.
yourself, for
Yeah.
sure.
The ego. Yeah.
And you kind of answered my next question, which was, what's the best piece of advice that's been given to you? But do you feel like,
I wrote 3 down for you.
oh, okay,
So can I give them to you?
yeah, please do.
Okay. I had a teacher in architectural school. I sort of like faked my way through architecture because I could draw, right? Nobody knew that. It's just a pencil, guys. And so he would say to me, "Damn it, Jose, less is more," because I would draw every brick, every shingle, everything, and he would go, "Damn it, man, less."
That
And
sounds
so
like a great teacher there.
he was great, absolutely great. I love him to death. And I think that was one piece. Another piece was your perspective defines your reality. I
I
think,
love that one. Yeah.
yeah, that I had on my email signature for years.
Yeah.
Your perspective, where you're looking, will define where you're
Yeah.
going. So make sure that you take the time to craft where you're headed. You reverse engineer it by speaking to people and learning and studying about the craft, and then figuring out, do I need schooling? Do I need a mentor? What should I be studying? You reverse engineer that. And the last thing is that everything that has a beginning has an end, regardless of what you're going through. And it's very emotional for us, crafting and designing. I think you have to know that all things change.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And on that, I always like to talk about bombs. When my guest drops bombs, you have to show that the
Can I
bombs
have
have
that?
been dropped.
Can I have that one?
Yep, I got that one there too.
Thank you. Thank you.
He dropped the bomb on us, so I
It's
hope
for Kevin
everybody.
Hart.
Yeah, I
It's for
hope
you, bro.
everybody make sure that you go back and watch that part because, like I said, those were great ones, especially the perspective one. Every your perspective defines your reality. How you see things is only going to come from your perspective. I'm a big believer of that for sure. Um, for you, if well, like I said, you've done a lot and you're still creating. Um, how do you hope to make the biggest? And plus, you've taught and been an instructor. What's your biggest thing that you feel like has made an impact on the kids that you taught and the younger ones that you taught? Especially the ones of color that, like I said, may not necessarily have gotten it from. And we talked about this, before the show. That was a big driver for me. Even though, like I said, it didn't define me, but I know how much more of an impact that would have made had I saw like, wow, he's a black guy that looks like me that's
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
cartoons and doing this and doing that. What's the impact that you hope to leave with people?
Um, I think it's nice to know that you're represented. You know what I mean? At different levels of the industry, of the entertainment industry, and that's why it's important to be an advocate for change and to pull people up with you as these doors. We're going through a little bit of a paradigm right now.
Yeah,
Um, uh, God bless George Floyd and his family,
yeah,
but it opened up avenues for government agencies and production houses and to rewrite policy, um, to have more programs that promote inclusivity and diversity, and challenging sort of like our the status quo of inequity and inequality. So we have to remember that as we go through this period, it may seem one-sided. Um, Everything will sort of right itself at some point, but while we're here, we have to push to hold that door open. Um, Sort of give the next generation and even people working in the industry now an understanding of what their options are, what the potential is for
yeah,
them to be able to push their own boundaries and be the best version of themselves they can be. And for people that are in companies, the companies themselves, like the one I work for, has to go to great lengths to make sure that programs are in place to safeguard and um, promote all of these things that we care about,
yeah, yeah,
harassment policies and things like that. Um, for myself, um, I've started on this track of learning to produce. I've become part of I won a fellowship with Tanya Williams Real World um, Film Institute, and she put together a great inaugural program called the Real World uh, Producers Program. And I've been part of this cohort of 12, and I'm learning not just about um, how to advocate for BIPOC individuals, people of color, different nationalities, sexual orientations, um, but how to create content that enters the marketplace, streaming, broadcast, web, you name it, that is different and exciting and diverse and representative of our lifestyles, our backgrounds, our culture, our belief systems,
Yeah.
um, and figuring out how all the red tape factors into that, the policies and the programs, the initiatives, um, and how we can actually sort of like game the system, change it so that as we move forward, here in Canada at least, um, we're always cognizant of the communities that we're speaking to,
Yeah.
and there's a respect behind that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to figure out now and how I fit in that.
And to that, do you feel like it's harder, or we make it harder here in the United States in that respect? Because I was, and I ask it in just kind of
I
the,
can see the stress on your
well,
face
I
as
mean,
you tell me the stress.
and what made me think of this question was the incident that just happened with the school
Yeah,
shooting.
yeah,
Pray, my thoughts and prayers are for the families. 'Cause I can't imagine that. But
yeah,
the talk that's been, going on is we're having the same conversation over and over and over and over and over again. Do you feel
yeah,
like that's just the hardest? And that's why I say, personally, I feel like the United States is going to have it's going to take such a long time, and it's something that's never going to get a bridge that's never going to be crossed when you don't have these kind of hard conversations that people kind of tend to avoid. Do you feel
yeah,
like that's just something that's just naturally kind of ingrained in this country, that we go through the same motion over and over and over again? It seems like, even though change is made, it just seems like sometimes we have these same old conversations.
yeah, yeah. I think we've all sort of grown up in and around industries that have been set in their ways for the longest time, and it's, um, I mean, they're families in a sense. They've supported each other. You reach out to who you know, to what you know. You lean back on what you've learned, been ingrained in you, and change is tough because it's painful. It's
Yeah,
painful because it means that people have to come out of their comfort zones and they have to see things from a different perspective. And often, it's sad to say, a catalyst like what we see happening on your side of the 49th is sometimes, like with George Floyd,
yeah,
it sparks change. We don't know what it is. We don't know how it happens, but I think the infrastructure has to be there. The people have to keep fighting. They have to keep pushing for change, for policy change, um, and then hopefully, without incident, um, it sort of bleeds into the social consciousness. You hope that without a trigger, um, people actually open themselves up to seeing the other side's opinion,
yeah,
and actually taking a little step towards some sort of moderation, you know,
yeah.
and those little steps will grow. Also, it's generational. I mean, the next generation is going to apply a different set of rules to the ones we grew up with.
Yeah, yeah. No,
You know,
and you can see that with the younger generation. They just don't
yeah,
kind of
they
abide.
don't buy into that.
Yeah,
They
they
don't buy
don't
into
buy
that.
into the same type of rhetoric that
That our parents grew up with.
yeah, our parents grew up in. Even I grew up in that type,
Mhm.
of rhetoric. So it
I
is
think
a
they're going to change.
process.
I
Yeah,
think they're going to push the needle. I think technology is going to factor greatly into that, just like it did in Obama's election.
yeah,
I think once you have the medium and you have the voices that propel it, the message is going to change. You know,
yeah,
and of course, um, to me, the biggest thing is transparency and accountability. If you're not going to hold your leaders accountable, um,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. No,
What
for
are your
sure.
expectations?
Yeah,
So
for sure, for sure.
change is coming. Change is coming. It'll be slow running,
As
but it'll
change
come.
usually is, like you said, and it's a painful. painful process for sure.
Yeah.
Again, everybody that's just jumping in, tuning in, we've been having the best conversation with our friend Jose, and definitely want to close out with just one last question with you. I mean,
Hit me up.
any
What do you got?
one thing, and I'm going to leave it up to you. What one thought do you want to leave people with? You know.
One thought. Just that I think this is a really exciting time. It's exciting to be a creator and to be a writer, an illustrator. Like myself, it's exciting to actually embrace new technologies to help us tell stories about things that matter to us. And while the iron is hot and we have all of these opportunities popping up,
Yeah.
please go online, take advantage of these um, funds that are just available to so many of us here in Canada, uh, in particular, just to be able to get your projects out there. I don't care if it's a book or a film or a play, um, a dance, whatever it is. Use the resources that are now in place, especially if you're a person of color or you're from a different background, you're Indigenous, First Nations, regardless, push the needle, push it as far as you can, because things will settle, right? But if we can figure out a way to make our voices heard, all of us, um, I think the norm will change, programming will change, you know. So
Yeah.
push on.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And hey, I'm gonna mic drop it on that one, for sure.
Boom.
Again, we've had definitely Mr. Anthony Pooh agrees. Fire, 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 fire.
Fire.
I appreciate again.
What's
I
up? Thanks,
appreciate
Anthony.
everybody that's tuned in, and definitely appreciate my man Jose coming on. Hopefully he'll grace us again. Definitely want to
Thank you,
have
sir.
you back on the show for sure. Everybody, make sure that you definitely get connected with him. Check out. He only sent me a fraction, a fraction of his artwork. So you definitely want to hop on over, check out his website for sure. Amazing stuff that's on there. Connect with him. You can also find him on IMDb for sure, LinkedIn, which is where I connected with him, Instagram and Facebook. All this stuff will be on the show in the show notes on the YouTube channel. So make sure that you again hop on over there, connect with them. Definitely an awesome guy. Like I said, I had been
Thank you, sir.
so looking forward to getting you on. I know I stalked you for a good while for sure.
It's all good. It's all good. Oh, and let me drop a little plug
Let me
for my
tell you here. Yes, go
Warner
ahead.
Brothers games, brothers and sisters. Um, we have our Gotham Knights coming out pretty
Got,
soon,
Gotham
later on
Knights.
this year. Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights.
Uh,
And I know it must
Grab
be
yourself
just
a copy.
yeah, I know it must be just so satisfying working on and seeing, being a part of something that just is out there that everybody enjoys and just knows about. Um, and definitely feel just a little bit, part of it that I've had more. I feel a little connected, for sure. But
I'll grab you an early copy if I can.
hey, I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
Jose, like I told you way when I first met you, my thing was building a friendship that goes beyond you being on the show. And so, like I said, super funny. I love your sense of humor, and we were talking about this before the show as well. It just makes the show so much more easier and funner when the person has a great sense of humor and just makes it easy for me to come on and do the show. So I definitely
Thanks,
want
man.
to have you back on, man, and just super can't wait to see all the stuff that's coming from you and Warner Brothers games, and just be a part. So I'm just happy to be your friend, man.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a blast. I hope I educated, enlightened a bit,
No, you
entertained
definitely
maybe.
dropped some bombs for sure. Like I
You
said,
know what I mean? I hope so. I hope
everybody.
so.
Let's see. I don't know. Let me throw this question on here before we go. Did Jose used to skate? I see that
I
thrasher
had a
mag
thrasher mag in the bag.
on the rack. You definitely got a keen eye, Anthony.
I
Man.
skated for a bit. But I transitioned to motorcycle really early. So.
Well, hey, you're better than me. I'm going to stick to 4 wheels. Unless it's a bicycle.
All good.
Jose, if you could hang out in the green room for just a minute while I close out the show, so I can thank you for in the right way. But everybody, like I said, I so appreciate everybody that's hung out with us. Definitely make sure that, like I said, you connect with Jose. But I do want to thank him for being on the show for sure.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute blast. I love the diversity on this show. I love the stories. I love the characters, because you definitely have some characters on this show.
Definitely.
You bring out the best in us, man.
Oh, man. That makes me feel good for sure. Everybody, please help me thank Jose, and hang out for just 1 second, Jose, while I close out the show there. Guys and gals, like I said, this is why I love doing the show, because like I said, I get to really just hang out, make friendships with such amazing people that, you just can't help but, I can't help but have fun because of just the relationships that I have. Hart there, he's doing that in the green room. Back at you, Jose, for sure. But big hearts to all of you that make this show, along with my guests, just a blast to do. You're helping it grow. Please share it, because I want people to not only, see the talent that's out there, but I want you to be part of the community as well. So connect with me for sure. Connect with the show and connect with the channel. Like I said, hey, we're going to keep season 2 rolling along on a great note for sure. Super excited about next week's guest, Miss Jade Seaberry, co-founder of Diverse Tunes. We're going to have a fun conversation with her, sitting down, talking about what she's got going on with Diverse Tunes. So make sure that you tune in, show up, tune in like you always do. And I can't thank you enough. Make sure that you have a safe and fun holiday weekend. I will see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel for sure. See you, everyone.